Ladies and gents, this is Kevin A. Kierstead, host of Truth on Tap. If you would like to follow the show, make sure to browse to and bookmark the Facebook page, which has a listening tab right on the page for you to listen to current and past episodes. It's www.facebook.com/truthontapshow. Don't forget the show. TOTS is an easy way to remember. Facebook.com/truthontapshow. This show airs on Spreaker and iHeartRadio and is Spreaker's featured iHeartRadio show for the first week of July 2014. Contact me through the Facebook page or email me at whatsthedeal@yahoo.com. That's WUTZ, the deal, @yahoo.com. If you have any suggestions for the show, or if you are interested in placing an ad on the show. I'm also searching for a part-time co-host. Must be intelligent, funny, sometimes unique, avoiding uhs, ums, and you knows, and having a nose for an appreciation of verifiable truth. I want to thank you for checking out Truth on Tap.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Opening up the truth pipeline for these bitches.
Truth on Tap. Truth.
My right to say how I say it's mine to give my mind, my heart, it's mine to share my songs, my heart.
Truth on Tap.
Invite to use just the wish to use chop it up and leave somebody. Chop it up and leave somebody.
9 o'clock in the morning on 7/28/14. Black Star Genghis featuring Stereo Black Star Super Negro. I'm as white as a white motherfucker. I'm fairly dark complected. I've got some Indian in my blood. I'm a mutt. Yeah, I'm not afraid. You're probably a mutt too. Do you realize that if nature takes its course, there will be no more white people? Everybody's going to be brown. Everybody's going to mix. I'm sorry. That's just the way it's going to go. So if you're holding on to white, you might want to say goodbye to it. Yeah, I got some Cherokee in my blood. I've got black in my family now. Not just by marriage, well, not by marriage, but by birth. Sure. To me, that's all American. That's what America's all about. Well, we need to keep the white race pure. Shut the fuck up, you narrow-minded bitch ass. What's pure about white, huh? What has white done for you lately? Yeah, brown's gonna do for you. That's right. White men have been the problem in the world so far. Is it because we're the smartest? Could be. On a broad scale, it could be. The smarter people get into the deeper evils, right? You don't see chimpanzees starting World War II. No, it's got to be the white male. Could be. I'm not ruling that out. I haven't thought about it. I just know that in my America, the one I signed up to defend and protect, when I joined the United States Air Force, in my America, everyone is equal. Everyone is equal. And I will still give my life for you today if you're an American. You betcha. You betcha. Wink. Jesus Christ, Sarah Palin. You need fucking thyroid medicine or something. Somebody needs to put her on a numbing agent to just tone her down a bit, because she's like a clown of politics. I just see her with this big fat red nose, and it's too bad that she's pretty, because that can mislead you. That can get you. You know, the better looking politicians tend to win. Do you know in all but one election in the history of the United States, the taller candidate has won? And you tell me we're not impressed with physical stature? Get the fuck out of here. Do you understand the broken manimal? And if you don't, you need to stay tuned to this motherfucking show. Get the kids out of the room. Hey, it's not boss friendly either. I never promised you a rose garden. Alright, I'm giving you the truth. It's not always pretty. Truth about myself is not always pretty. I get depressed sometimes when I think about the truth about myself and look at my flaws. But it's the truth. I can take some solace in the fact that I know I'm not walking down a dark path of falsehoods and assessing myself and other humans. I know what the fuck is up. Yeah, I sure do. It's not always pretty, my friends. Genghis featuring Stereo Black Star Super Negro. In about 18 seconds, we're going to go into Eno's Generic Hip Hop Session 1 and then Eno's Advanced Bass Camp, because why? Eno's kind of captured my heart here lately. Independent artist, you'll find them on CC Mixter. Their music is free for commercial use, as is all my music. The ones I do have from real bands. Tell them, Wes. Yeah, Wes Johnson. You can find him, wesjohnson.com. Greatest radio air personality actor ever. Just find him. Here it is, Generic Hip Hop Session 1. It is my quick medicine. It's my quick injection. It's only a minute and 40 seconds long, but gets me going. We're going to talk a little bit today about UFOs, UFO theory, evidence for and against, and specifically I need to call out the surgeon, the ER doctor, Stephen Greer, from North Carolina, who may be a government plant. You want to talk about conspiracy theories? I will entertain them with you today. But we're being specific. We're not going broad today. We're going with the UFOs. And then I'll go freestyle, as I always do. You don't like it? Tune the fuck out. This is how we do it on this show. There are no plans. We go. That's what's exciting about it. We go. You don't get in a car and plot out your route. If you do, you're type A and you're fucking obsessive compulsive and you need some OCD medicine and you probably lock your door 6 times and then unlock it 6 times because 7's too many and 5's not a goddamn enough. I can't help you. Doctors can help you. I can only help you learn to think on this show. Learning to think. The machine with which to think, not what to think. I'm never going to tell you what to think. I'm Socrakev. That may be my new radio name, Socrakev. I am a modern-day Socrates. I'm going to make you question your beliefs and insist on evidence before you rebuild those beliefs. And that's about the size of it. You betcha. Wink. Fuck out of here, Sarah Palin. I could probably love a lady like that if she would just admit her inadequacies. I like truth. Here comes Advanced Base Camp. This one gets me going too. Let's hope it gets you going on this Monday morning. Yeah. We'll probably take a break earlier rather than later today.
The elevation up here is about 18,500 feet, maybe a little bit more. My altimeter
Don't fall,
is 600 meters. So that puts us above really any peak in the continental United States outside of Alaska.
Well, good for you. You're high.
It was quite a surprise to get here and see Advanced Base Camp.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, well, I like the song. I don't know what the spiel's about, but it is unique. I mean, they come in with the jazz, the hip-hop, a bit of funkiness, and they lay it down. Track is complete. It's beautiful. I need to feel something a little funky. I don't like this predictable average shit, and I'm not really a fan of the extreme shit. I've got some extreme stuff. I'm going to play one for you today. I think I'm going to play one after this by DJ Guido called Rubber Rooms and Funny Pills. Now, it's not a song that I'm going to sit here and tell you is good by itself, so I do kind of need to talk over it, or otherwise it's boring, but it's about 7 minutes, almost 8 minutes long. So you'll hear that in the background after this song. And I'll go ahead and get the story started. This thing about talking during music, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I like it sometimes, hate it sometimes. I get annoyed by it. I don't know if I'm distracting you or, I don't know. Maybe it distracts me, and that's the problem. We'll get into it. Get your asses in the chat room. For those of you that are listening through Spreaker, you ought to check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. Don't forget the show. TOTS is an easy way to remember it. Facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. In there you'll have listening tabs. You don't even have to leave Facebook to listen to the show. And for those of you listening later on iHeart, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that you're bothering with my podcast. I wish you could participate live. You can if you follow the method I just described. And just to let you know, Spreaker is featuring Truth on Tap as the first week of July's featured iHeartRadio show. How about that shit? I don't pat myself on the back, really, unless it has something to do with truth or helping people. That's about it. And my show getting more popular, I don't know, it has a lot to do with truth and helping people, and yet I don't feel proud of that. I don't feel pride anymore. I'm an author. I've written 4 novels, got a 5th one. I've actually written 6, but I've only put out 4. I've done a lot of things that I think an average person might be proud of, and I go, people, the first thing I think is many good, solid Americans before me, and people in the world, but I always kind of focus on Americans because they're who I care about the most, have lived harder lives than me, have accomplished far more than I have, you know. With my medical conditions the way they are, I feel like I'm doing all I can right now. That's got to be enough, and it probably isn't enough. On an average person's assessment of labor output, I'm probably not doing enough. But it's enough for me, and it's enough because it has to be, because I've tried to do more and failed. Okay, that doesn't mean you stop. That just means you know your limits. I know my limits. I know what I can do and what I can't. Yeah, don't know where we're going with that, but let's get into the Stephen Greer UFO stuff. There's a couple of, I don't know if I want to put an alternative theory in your head. It's not really my goal, but sometimes you need to do that to do what I call painting by contrast. Sometimes you can't see the foreground of something. So what do? You paint the background. The foreground will then show up by contrast. It's one of my favorite techniques. I don't know if it's a formal technique. I've never really heard of it, but it has worked for me in a million different ways to help describe things accurately. Accuracy is a big word you'll hear on the Truth on Tap show. We need to be accurate.
Truth on Tap with
Yeah,
host
well, here it comes. Yeah, that was, Advanced Base Camp. And here comes DJ Guido with Rubber Rooms and Funny Pills. Don't say I didn't warn you, bitches. Don't say I didn't warn you. Yeah, well, it's good for a Monday morning, because half you motherfuckers are going crazy. You need rubber rooms and funny pills, don't you? Yeah, you do. Get in the chat. Tell me what's up. Tell me your UFO theories. Tell me if you think, unlike me, that the UFO thing is also false, is also one of the crazy conspiracy things, that it's not real. I know PhDs personally who don't buy into this, and it saddens me. Because here's an area where we do have good evidence. There's something going on with UFOs. Are they aliens? We don't know that. I mean, there are theories that people in the government know, but we don't know that. We, the average public. What we do know is that our best trained aerial observation people, that being the astronomers, that being the astronauts, the cosmonauts, that being the pilots, they're all reporting very strange craft in the air and in outer space. Eyewitness observations, photos to back it up, multiple witnesses to back it up. 10,000 people see the Phoenix lights. 10,000 people see a large craft out there in Phoenix, including the governor, and you're going to tell me that didn't just happen. What's wrong with you is my next question. What's wrong? Why wouldn't you believe that? I understand 3 people might have a hoax. I understand 10 people may have just kind of batted an idea around and kind of led each other into a theory. But 10,000? No, that's real. That actually happened. Now the question is, what was it? Didn't look like anything from Earth? Could have been a hologram? Could have been. I'm not going to rule that out. Could have been a government thing. Let me explain something to you, folks. Your United States government has no interest, and would never have an interest, in showing you fake craft, or, unless they were doing a false flag attack, which I don't believe is happening, or if it was their own test equipment, they don't want you seeing it. The idea is keep that secret, not fly it over Phoenix where 10,000 people can get a beautiful view of the underbelly, lights on, lights are flashing. Come on now. That's not what we do in secret black projects. We keep that shit quiet. We fly it without lights under the cover of night. That's what we do in the desert. Yeah, Phoenix lights were real, folks. You can come up with your theories, but don't tell me it didn't happen. You can tell me Roswell didn't happen. You can tell me the Kecksburg UFO was a fucking satellite. You can tell me that there are no reptiles in the government. You can tell me that we don't have some sort of S4 area of Area 51 that hides alien technology. And I can't argue logically with you about those. But come try to tell me that the Phoenix lights were imagined. Come try to tell me that the triangular craft 10,000 people saw wasn't really there. And bring me your evidence. I'll tear your ass apart. from a standpoint of logic, I sure will. I hope you're ready. Now, what's the most reputable data set in support of UFOs? I'm not talking alien life. We don't know if they're alien life. I'm talking unidentified flying objects that do not move with any technology we have ever recognized. What's the best conglomerate of testimony? It is the Disclosure Project. I'll be the first to admit it. Here's the problem with the Disclosure Project. Dr. Stephen Greer. He started off credible, didn't he? A surgeon out of the emergency room out of North Carolina gathered together all of the best witnesses, the most reliable witnesses in the categories I stated earlier, to tell you their stories about UFOs. Some of them actually claim to have had alien encounters. Most of them, this is very important for the skeptic, did not make an alien connection. They simply reported what craft they saw. Okay? You can't rule out that it was some very advanced technology Russia's using to spy. You can't rule out that it was a private corporation testing to see what they could get away with. You don't know. They don't know. And they may have their beliefs in the background, but all they reported is what they saw. It is a good body of evidence. What I want to run past you, though, is this possibility, okay? What I want to run past you is this. What if the presence of Dr. Stephen Greer is a plant by the United States government? You think that's possible? Why would they do that? Well, consider this. Consider what's going on now. What do you think about Dr. Stephen Greer? If you don't know him, his latest thing, and he takes people on these encampments to do this, is that he can solicit the presence of UFOs and alien visits through telepathic thinking and meditation. Now, I hear the skeptic already. Okay, yep, you just lost me. Now I don't have faith in you. All right, I don't blame you, skeptic, because Dr. Greer lost me with that as well. I'm not buying that. The evidence is not strong in support of his claims there. So what are the chances that the United States government did this, say back around 2000? Let's think about it. Imagine I'm a CIA guy or a black ops official of some sort that doesn't have a real position. I just show up when it's time for a project and blend back into the population when it's over. And I say to you, we are seeing a group of UFO witnesses that is getting more and more credible. Astronauts, Ed Mitchell, pilots, FAA officials, and these aren't just military pilots, they're commercial pilots. We've got FAA officials that have radar records of the things being reported in real time by the pilots. This is getting scary, government. Now, how are we going to dismantle the arguments of such reputable people? I got an idea. I say we find a guy who's PhD or better in education, make him a very reasonable guy at first, get him to round up all these witnesses and present their cases, and then make the guy lose credibility. Because what will happen in the public eye is that everybody who gathered underneath him, their credibility will fall with him. Because that's what humans do as a group. If Dr. Greer becomes a joke, the Disclosure Project becomes a joke. I say be careful with that, people. Go ahead and dismiss Dr. Greer, but look at that eyewitness testimony and that 400 hours of testimony for the Disclosure Project. Real shit, real guys, real scientists, astronauts, physicists. They're all saying, look, this happened. This is not imaginary. 90-degree turn at 4,000 miles an hour, not possible with a human aboard and not possible with any of our machinery. We can't even make a missile do that. It would fly apart. Yeah. All right, we're going to stop the music. It's annoying me. So, then we'll get into maybe do some more music later.
With host Kevin Kierstead.
Yeah, so let's say Dr. Greer was a plant. And his job was to get all this growing body of credible witnesses on a boat and then sink the ship with all of them aboard. Is that unheard of? Do I have evidence for that? No, I don't. Not at all. I'm just putting out there a possibility for you to ponder. And it does kind of ring true, doesn't it? It seems like something that could very well be true, even though we don't have evidence for it. I say if you're a fan of science, but you also want to know the truth about UFOs, dismiss Dr. Greer and his personal thing with ESP, which I don't think any of the witnesses for the Disclosure Project buy into. Maybe we just don't understand it yet, but whatever the case is, he's looking a little bit loony right now. But the witnesses were not loony. They are not loony. They're very stable personalities. None of them that I know of are getting rich from this, from their claims, okay? What they're getting is their neighbors pointing and laughing. What they're getting is let go from their job due to the fog of uncertainty that surrounds them. What they're getting is grounded, if they were pilots, and told that if you're seeing things in the sky that we can't verify are there, we can't be sure you're not hallucinating. What they're getting is public backlash against them not being able to prove what it is they think they saw. And what they're getting is the product of what the American government has done with UFO sightings since 1947, regardless of whether or not Roswell was true or not. The military went on an active and expensive campaign to not only discredit anybody who reported a UFO sighting, but to also punish them, making them look like a joke. And they did it, and they did it well. And now you can't say UFO and be taken seriously, and that is incredibly sad because they're real. It bothers me. And now we're in an age where you can actually have CGI stuff going on. I mean, I can create a realistic looking video on my computer, on my old laptop, that would make you think, if you didn't know better, that there was a UFO in the sky. With the availability of that video creation and editing technology, we can't trust anything now, can we? So we got to find the reputable sources. We got to find what the scientists are seeing, what the astronomers are getting on their telescopes, what the pilots and astronauts are saying. These are the people we got to get behind if we want to understand this UFO phenomena. You know, other countries have opened up, folks. Other countries are wide open on this issue now. England, France, other countries in Europe, Belgium, Russia starting to open its files. South America starting to open up their files, and they had to lobby pretty hard for that down there, but they are opening them up. Mexico is finally on the record with military officials that recorded a fleet of UFOs over Mexican skies. Not to mention all the individual eyewitness testimony, including formal government officials from there. You know, Disclosure Project didn't bring in too many people from around the world. Yeah, we had some French, some people from Belgium, some English, but mostly they were Americans. So, you know, we had a couple Japanese pilots for the famous Alaska event, as you may recall. There were 2 Japanese pilots flying a simple flight, commercial flight, through Alaska to, I don't remember where they were going, but it was somewhere outside the United States. But anyway, they're flying through Alaska, and all of a sudden they get visuals, and they get radar hits. And they're going, okay, air traffic control, do you have any traffic in our area? You know, about, I don't know, 1,000 feet in front of us. Yes, we are picking up something there. And they said, well, it's about the size of 2 aircraft carriers, and it's shaped like a walnut. And it's keeping pace with us. And it's making turns inside of us. And we request to take evasive action to avoid a collision with this thing. They were shaken up bad. They not only saw this thing with their own eyes, with clarity, several witnesses, but the radar data supported the claim. The FAA official that spoke out on this said that the next morning when they were having a meeting at the airport where the air traffic control was working out of, I think it was Anchorage, they confiscated all the info, all the radar charts, all the taped testimony, and, you know, somebody had a backup of the audio between the pilot and air traffic control. And they said that, you know, at this huge meeting, 20, 30-something people, men in black came in and said, you know what, none of this happened. And I'm tired of that. Yeah, it did happen. Fuck that. Don't let that go, man. We got to stop that. I don't know who the CIA thinks they are, but they work for you. Yep. You got to, I don't know, if you know people in intelligence, man, what are you going to do if they just decide, we don't have to tell America anything? We'll keep everything secret. I mean, welcome to the Soviet Union circa 1970. you won't know anything. Your government will be propped up against you in an effort to fully control you, a bit by controlling the information. The Freedom of Information Act has become kind of a joke. It's not getting a lot done. So we need to revise that as well. If they classify things top secret, you can't get it. So all they got to do to keep hiding stuff. I mean, the Freedom of Information Act is more of a phantom right. Because yes, you can now get information a little bit easier than you did before, but no, you cannot get into classified information. It's still very well protected. So all they've got to do is change their classification cutoffs to make things that before may not have been as classified and up the classification level so you can't get to it. It's that simple. So what if Dr. Greer was a plant to try to sink the ship of UFO witnesses? And I'm going to take you down imagination lane today. Let's go ahead and because I don't think the UFO topic is really as exciting as we think. And what I mean by that is, let's just go down imagination lane here. So let's say we make contact. We've got real verifiable UFOs, aliens on Earth. Government's not denying it anymore. They bring them on news shows. You can go up and talk and touch and feel them. They're sharing advanced technologies with the whole world on energy and resources, things like that. And we've established it. Okay, all right, there's definitely alien life in the universe, and it has visited here. Well, what after that? You think it's a big, huge deal, but after we've been doing it for 20 years, it's not real exciting anymore, is it? We just realized that we were one small house on a cul-de-sac in the universal neighborhood. It's not a big deal after that, is it? So the whole thing is, all of this effort to hush stuff up, which I think is probably for government gaining technology, makes me wonder, is it that big of a deal? After 20 years after disclosure, we're not going to think it's a big deal. So maybe we shouldn't have such high expectations for how it's going to change the world. Is there going to be some chaos? Yeah, religions are going to take a hit. I mean, the ones that won't allow for UFOs and alien life. There's going to be those people that will not trust them no matter. And I'm telling you, if anybody even 10,000 years advanced or beyond visited Earth and wanted to kill us, we'd be gone. We'd be gone. There are people that say, well, we're being farmed for fuel and labor. That's possible, but unlikely. I just don't see it. Just don't see it. Human beings are relatively inefficient. Machines are much more efficient. They would just make machines to do their thing, and if they needed protein samples, they'd grow it in vials. They don't need us. They don't need us. If anything, we're a project of theirs or an interesting observation, much as we might look at, I don't know, the three-toed sloth and how they move through the jungles of South America. Maybe that's all we are to them, a peep show. All we can do is guess. But I'm telling you that after disclosure happens, which has to happen eventually, the evidence is just insurmountable at this point. You cannot say UFO technology does not exist in the atmosphere and directly outside the atmosphere of Earth anymore. Too many supporting data to say something like that. So now you have to ask, what are they? Do we go interdimensional and not go outer space? If we do go interdimensional, if there are other dimensions that contain beings that can pop into our dimension, what does that say about how life is going to change? That might be easier for a hardcore religious person to accept than aliens from another. And they're already calling them, look on YouTube, they're calling them evil demons. Aliens are demons. It's in our nature, it's in human nature not to trust anything new. Things that we do not understand, we tend to kill, don't we? I mean, look at history. If we don't understand it, if it doesn't fit our model of what's right, we kill it. Sad thing, very sad thing. A mark of the immaturity of the evolution of the human mind. And I don't like to use the word evolution because there's this false concept behind it that we're growing into something bigger, better, faster, stronger. We're not. Evolution is nothing but change. Adaptation is the correct word. You're adapting. If your environment changes, you're going to change with it. There's nothing that's going to keep humans from going back to walking on all fours. If the environment calls for that, that's what we'll do. If it calls for stay on twos, we'll do that. Right now it seems to be calling for us going airborne, so we'll do that with science. We don't have to wait for the evolution of wings. Who knows, Who knows? But it's what it is not is some kind of project where we're always growing into something better. I mean, if the gray alien, the traditional gray alien, is actually humans, are humans from the future doing time travel, we're not getting prettier, are we? They're not real pretty. Rather amphibious looking. But what if... I'm not even so sure gray aliens exist. I'm not so sure. I've seen some theories on why people jumped on that image early on. And you know what's funny? Let's talk about Ken Arnold. You want me to fuck with your head a little on the UFO stuff? I will. Ken Arnold, first one to really report a fleet of UFOs. He was flying a small plane. I don't know, it was 1944, give or take. And he never called them flying saucers, people. They didn't look like flying saucers. They looked kind of like crescent moons with a tail. Okay? But what he said was they moved like a saucer would look if you skipped it across the water. He never said they looked like flying saucers. That was a mistake that the press made when they quoted him. And they've got the quote on audio, so you know it's a mistake, because that's what he said. I heard him say it. He said, if I were to describe their movement, it would be like if you skipped a saucer across the water. Very jerky is what he was saying. Very quick movements. But they never looked like a flying saucer. So how is it that a press mistake about something that was not shaped like a saucer all of a sudden turns into a lot of saucer-shaped things? That has to make you wonder about the power of suggestion. It does. That's not what he saw. What he saw looked like essentially a crescent moon with a triangular tail in the center. Kind of like a circle with two big cuts made in the back, if you will. So think about that. Everybody's seeing flying saucers from a mistake that a reporter made by saying that Kenneth Arnold said they looked like saucers. He never said that. So that's something you really have to consider if you're going to get into critical thinking, reason, and logic when you think about UFOs or any other paranormal phenomena. The power of suggestion, the adoption in the American and human mind in general of an image that represents an iconic mark for a class of information that we're trying to report on and understand. That put a lot of wonder into me about a lot of the flying saucer reports. Now, there are reports before that. You can go all the way back to Alexander the Great, seeing what they called the silver shields. Those would have been saucer-shaped. And you can look in some of the artwork from the medieval and ancient times that have what look like saucers flying. There would have been nothing back then unless they were, we have to consider, what if it was shields? What if they were just making it look like their shields were very powerful, so they put them in flight? I don't know. These are things we don't bother with, do we? We just want to connect the dots real quick and come up with with our theorem. And it's not wise. You need to look at all the angles. So I'm telling you, even if we find out aliens are real, and even if we find out aliens have been to Earth, I don't think it's going to be a huge big deal. Yeah. That's what I think. Man, we haven't been going that long here. But I'm going to, I need to get a refill on my coffee, and then if you guys want to do some freestyle stuff, we will. So what I'll do in the interim is I got this thing I'm going to play for you. It's an appeal to reason that I'm trying to make about us spreading out into outer space, and we will, and hopefully it'll mean something to you. And it's How to Live Forever is what I call it, and it's about getting all of our eggs out of one basket. So it's worth a listen, I think. So I'll start off with that, and then after that you may hear, I don't want to play that because I can talk during that one. So we'll do Alex Shake That Funky Thing, and by then I'll probably be back. If not, we'll do I got a weird one later I want you to hear. It's called A Story of Striking the Root, and this is about the attack of unions, and it's a very interesting song / almost a news story put to a tune. It's very interesting, and I want to know your thoughts on it. So I'll get that lined up for you as well. Yeah, we'll do that one first. Yeah, so I think what I'll do is instead of playing Shake That Funky Thing, we'll go with my little thing, and then we'll go with the story of Striking the Root. And I want to know your thoughts on this from a political vantage point. Do you think it's got any validity to it? Are you also anti or pro-union? You know, what's your stance on it? And that is that. And here goes this.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
To my friends and family, and humans that will hear this, and non-humans that might hear this, present, past, or future, depending on what technology really does turn out to be capable of, I feel compelled to share a heart-gripping view with you from one common man. There is something inside me that roots for humans. I see the bad with the good. I know our capacity for evil and greatness. Deep down, something that I cannot describe to you, something that is just as much a nearly tangible object as it is a feeling. This thing tells me we must protect and promote the human race, necessarily accompanied with humanity, with compassion for others. I'm looking at my computer's calendar, and it is November 17th, 2013. What that means is as debatable as anything else, but what it signifies, I'm certain, is that we are near. We are close to the time when humans will leave this planet. It won't be long. Humans will have settled the moon and Mars, and possibly even other bodies in the solar system. It won't be long after that, maybe within the next 400 years, that we are outside of our own solar system settling new moons and planets. If we can stay alive long enough to make this happen, we can ensure the survival of our own species. Some may ask, is it worth it? What can we offer? Aren't we just a virus to the universe if we spread out and consume and then vacate, spread out and consume again? The answer to that is no. What we are is a learning, growing, a largely flawed creature that has inherent inside of him the ability to show compassion and humility, and when you combine that with the need to grow more intelligent and our ability to be brave even in the face of the worst of odds, we become a necessary and truly unstoppable force. But only if we can last long enough. Some number of us may not care much about what humans do after they are gone, but I think most of us do. How we work out political and religious tolerance and how we reconcile value systems and expectations are just fine details that can be worked out using that flexible, liquidy thing that we call time. What will it take to ensure the survival of our species then? It's really simple. You are a biological creature. In truth, you are simply an animal with thumbs, a decent communication system, and the ability to reason. Inherent inside of your brain is the natural, forceful desire to produce offspring and, in sort of a selfish way, to promote your genes. And it could be argued that when people like me talk about protecting and promoting our entire species, that I'm drawing off of that same area of the brain. While that may be a valid argument, I'm inviting you to come on board with a simple cause, a simple premise, that we should give ourselves a chance to spread out and do good and enjoy goodness before we destroy ourselves here on Earth. We only need a few hundred years of real peace to make that happen. The question is, can you do it? Will you? Will you write to your leaders or elected officials and tell them that we need time to get some people off of this planet and that it is critical that this time is spent in preparation and launching into this peaceful, cooperative time? Will you spread the word to your own family and friends to suggest that if we can just hold on for a few hundred more years without having nuclear wars or forcing our own climate to rebel upon us or being destroyed by a meteorite because we failed to take them seriously and will not adequately fund identification and preventative measures? If you hate other humans that do not believe or think as you, would you simply write down your grievances and hand them down the generations, giving your own offspring and theirs permission to resume whatever angry cause you have taken up, asking only that they wait until humans are safely spread out a bit in the universe first? Will you pressure your leaders to help control disease so that we have time to make this happen? And if you could do that at this time of travel and settlement in the universe, isn't it also possible that we might for the first time see what a beautiful thing human tolerance, teamwork, and peace can provide? A thing we've not only never really seen before, but a thing which, if felt by those who are preparing to leave, would then be carried out into new worlds? Isn't it possible that as soon as we begin this cooperative thinking and work toward giving our species a chance to have better odds of survival long term, that we might also in an instant notice that we have done just one thing to that end, but many things to that end? What happiness might you feel if when you lay down your stereotypes and judgments just long enough for us to get off of this planet and get out and beyond the rest of the solar system, you find that your mind and heart become content for the first time that you can be sure of, ever. All it suggests is postponing fights over ideology and coming together as one to complete just this one goal, just this one dream, to allow humankind to ensure that no matter what ends up happening later on this planet, we will have sent our family outward and upward, not only to go on if something happens on Earth, but to go on with a mind and heart set not just on exploring and making better for ourselves, but on being responsible and respected pioneers in our part of the universe. Even if it turns out that there aren't other life forms and that we're only respecting ourselves, uniting around a common goal like this, my friends, is a worthy effort, even if only for the end product of protecting our species in a way no known species has ever before, or any life on this planet has ever been able to even conceive of. But can you imagine how many other great things could rise up out of a venture like this? A few hundred years of peace and cooperation before we give ourselves permission to start destroying one another again? Does it just sound novel, or would you do something to support a cause such as this? Will you do it? Will you write a friend, email your government authorities, support your country's science programs? Will you talk about this at schools, at work, at parties, on your social networks? A few hundred years of cooperation and peace before we resort back to allowing ourselves to hack and chop away at each other's futures and happiness. If you don't do anything, this never happens. It costs nothing but lots of your thinking and some of your time. Do you care enough about humankind to want to ensure our survival? If you do, then spread this message far and wide, and do not rest until you see the peace, the cooperation, the hard scientific work happening to get some of us off of this earth to dramatically increase our chance of survival in the long run. This is for you. It is for your family. People are living longer and longer. Your very grandchildren could be the first pioneers out of our solar system. How about giving them a chance? Do something. Spread the idea. Practice the idea. Live the idea. And we live forever.
And maybe you can explain why the bearing puts the transmitter which sent those calls slap in the middle of the Mare Australis.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
So I want to begin about this concept of institutional corruption.
We have power because there are more than 3.2 million people who are willing to pay us hundreds of millions of dollars in dues each year because they believe that we are the unions that can most effectively represent them.
Over 80% of our costs are in personnel, and hopefully the teachers union realizes that when they start to negotiate the next time.
It is not because we care about children.
Corrupted.
NEA and its affiliates are effective because we have
Tangling.
hundreds of millions of dollars in power.
Shaking.
It is not because we have a vision of a great public school for every child. We are the union. We are the union.
The result was the national agenda too often skewed in favor of those with power to tilt the
because we have power.
Institutional corruption.
Dozens of school districts around Wisconsin canceled classes Thursday after hundreds of teachers called in sick to attend union protests in Madison.
This is how it should have been all the other days, and it was. And it's very exciting. It's sad for our kids, but it's good for the teachers.
Are you signing doctor's notes?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any problem with having people lie?
I'm not lying.
union workers protesting in Wisconsin are now being investigated.
Our teachers brought us here today.
For what? What are you guys protesting?
You know, I don't really know. I guess we're protesting today.
We're trying to stop whatever this dude is doing.
Millions of dollars in power.
These senators, the missing 14, have been found. They have been located.
Leaving right now to do my job in Wisconsin.
Why didn't you do it earlier today, sir? But you didn't. You were supposed to be on House, to at least be on the House floor to allow them to have a vote. You didn't do it. Why not?
Because we have power.
I'm not so sure that's my job today. My job today is to delay a vote on piece of legislation people in the state have said. We have not had time to serve the consequences.
What's your position there, sir, in the Senate? What's your position? Why did you flee the state, sir? Why did you flee the state of Wisconsin so you wouldn't have to do your job, sir?
Hundreds of millions of dollars in power.
System of dependency where the special interests indirectly through the lobbyists control members, producing this marionette Congress. A system of dependence upon the lobbyist fundraisers.
These senators, the missing 14, have been found. They have been located. And now they're using their vacation to fundraise out of state.
So, do we have root here?
NEA and its affiliates are effective because we have power.
Do we have a sense of exactly what's behind this craziness?
Hundreds of millions of dollars in power.
Well, in my view, the only way to strike at this root is to cut the connection between these funders and our government. And the only way to do that is to embrace the idea of a Republican. The funders are not the people.
Hundreds of millions of dollars in power.
And respond in the way our framers intended, with a movement, a citizens' movement that starts in the states, that starts in this city, to strike at the root to this problem.
The tree will crash.
The union.
Corruption will collapse.
The union.
The tree will crash.
The union.
Corruption will collapse.
The union.
The taproot will die.
When it comes time to vote for our legislatures and legislators and governors.
In 2010, one public teacher union spent $2,143,588 to lobby Wisconsin senators, 4 times more than the nearest corporate interest. Public union lobbied in order to block local government ability to make budget cuts by arbitration through collective bargaining laws. The people of Wisconsin, democratically elected representatives, and a governor not corrupted by the public unions, to limit collective bargaining arbitration, allow public workers the choice to be in a public union, and reduce pension and benefits by 5%. These actions cut the root of the corruption, the flow of public funds to public unions, letting the funds flow to public workers and local governments, where they belong, because our Constitution begins with, "We the people, not we the public unions."
And respond in the way our framers intended, with a movement, a citizens' movement that starts in the state to strike at...
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Yeah, Georgia Linus, DJ Arcade, Pulse, going to play in the background while we talk here a little bit. I don't know what you thought about what I just played. I mean, on the one hand, I'm trying to save humanity, and on the other hand, you see us attacking ourselves. Is there any point in this? Is it an exercise in futility? We're going to self-destruct anyway? Is it in our nature? You know, when you have a creature as complicated in design as a human, whether nature designed us or not, and there is a flaw built into that system that guarantees self-destruction, what are you going to do to counter that? I mean, if I send people to other planets, am I just damning those planets and those people, maybe prolonging life a little bit, the flash of an eye in the grand scale of time? We're still going to self-destruct. Mine is not a view of doom and gloom. My view is, if we're that broken, we got to fix it, man. Are we that broken? Or do you think we can make it? Do you think we could say, look, life is sacred. We should treat it as sacred. And that includes all religions, all races, all sexes, because there's no longer just one or two. There's transgender and people with both, and you got to just allow for nature's anomalies and include them in the grand scheme of being equal and fair to all. Don't call yourself an American if you're a racist. Don't. The Constitution won't allow for you to be a real American. You're in America, you may be a citizen, but you're not an American. Don't call yourself an American if you're sexist. America's focus now, as it always has been really from the root. Yeah, we had some racism when we started. We had plenty of sexism, suffrage movements, the Underground Railroad, slavery, Civil War, all of that. But now we're new. And Europe has passed us in social policy. We need to, maybe we don't want to do, socialized medicine or anything like that, but we need to get right on equality and fairness. We got to get right on that. And, I gotta tell you, I just finished Mancal Muller's book, Dad, Dames, Demons, and a Dwarf. And I don't like that he leans to the right and that he's a Fox News participant, because to me that immediately stains the view I had of him, because he was all for free speech. Well, Fox News isn't so much for free speech. So there's a dichotomy there between his philosophy and his behavior. And that always raises questions for me, but I like the guy. I've always liked him as a radio host. I think it's because of his quick thinking. I like the way he thinks quickly, and that's maybe something I like to model my own thinking after. But he's... how do I explain this? He's got some root problems that I can see that are exclusive in nature to other races and other sexes. Yeah, that's the way I see it. Mancal Muller. Does he really believe in free speech?
You're listening
Maybe if it's
to
him.
Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Yeah, maybe if it's him, but what was Mancal saying about people? I can't remember. The fact that he's associated now with Fox News stains my view of him, as I said. And I do that for any extreme news source. MSNBC, too far left. You can't... MSNBC is more likely to present a far-right guest, although they may try to turn him into a clown, than Fox is to truly present a far-left guest that is credible. In other words, MSNBC will put a credible far-right guest on. When I see the hatred, the vitriol that a person like an Ann Coulter comes forward with, no, I don't accept your views. Elitist isn't a good enough word for somebody like that. Hatred. They are seething. They are sitting there boiling from the mouth with hatred. No, not in America. I'm sorry, I don't accept your view. First, you got to get over the emotional shit, and then we can get into logic and reason. And you're not there, Ann Coulter. You hate. You hate, and you're vicious. Doesn't matter. You'll pick a new target every day. As long as you can hate on somebody, you're happy. And as long as they're not on the right, you're hating on the left. As you know, I believe in this country we ought to be able to take care of our extremely poor. We ought to be able to take care of our disabled. This is not a welfare state. You need to look up your statistics before you go spewing more shit like that. If you're at work on lunch telling people, I'm tired of paying taxes into a nanny state, go look up the goddamn figures from the government offices that pay them. If you don't trust them, go to an outside oversight source. Whatever it is, know your fucking numbers, People get... They get, what's the right word? They get stood up. If you're a fan of boxing, a good left jab will stand a boxer up. That means get them out of their crouch, get their defenses down because their head is popped up. You can stand them up with that left jab and then hook or throw the straight right. People get stood up when I tell them what our national expenditure is per annum on foreign affairs that relate to the aid variety, that being international support for our allies, for other countries, foreign aid. They think that it's something, 20%, 15%. What a waste. What we could do with that at home. It's 1%, folks. 1% of our national budget goes to all of our allies for them helping us in the war on terrorism and in support for jobs issues and economy issues, and for sharing their intelligence on military stuff and other things of that nature, for their participation in our plans for commerce and farming and agriculture and developing wind and solar and gas and all that, all 1%. For these causes we say we believe in, all 1%. And it's funny because NASA gets around 1.5%, 2%. Those are two things we're taking very lightly when we should be taking them pretty seriously. If you don't understand what foreign aid goes to, yeah, we make some mistakes. We'll throw a few million down the drain on a mistake that we thought was somebody doing a business that was going to help America. It happens. It happens in this country all the damn time. You ever heard of government contractors? I mean, I was a government contractor at one time teaching Vietnam veterans. They had to be Vietnam veterans that were 100% disabled. I would teach them how to use a computer. And if I did, under the clause, they got a free gateway computer, but I had to train them for 10 hours. So I did. Now, I charged $40 an hour and no travel. So I would get $400 out of the contract. But I never charged travel, and I would have to drive across the state sometimes. So I sure wasn't making a killing, especially considering I only had about one a month to do, or two a month. I could have charged them $500 an hour, and they would have paid it, because there was nobody else in my area that could train disabled Vietnam veterans computers. But did I? No. Are you going to rely on someone's moral compass when you're trying to figure out what a fair price is for a service paid for by your federal government? You think it's all going to welfare? Look at the fucking contracts, man. I just hate it when people will not... You know what it is? Uninformed, that's the biggest part. Then the second part is the thought that somebody might be getting away with something without paying. That drives humans mad. I can assure you that someone on welfare is not a welfare queen. They're not living the high life. They are ashamed of themselves. There's only one type of person on welfare that you ought to have a bone to pick with, and that's the one that spends the cash they get on drugs or alcohol. That's a person who should be tested and forced to go if they're missing their job interviews and stuff. As you know, with welfare, you're required to... Most states are required to register with the job bank, and if they match up a job, you got to go to the interview. And they follow up on that shit. They know if you went or not. So if you don't go to your interviews, that's when they ought to call you in for a drug test. And then if you fail the drug test, or you've alcohol on you, then you need to, I think they need to send you to rehab and kick you off the program. Just let the rehab, rehab is a total support kind of thing. They feed you and give you medicine, and, it's very expensive, but they got to get you off of the drugs or alcohol before they can justify spending tax dollars on your life. It makes sense. So, but let me tell you this, people, they've already tested. I know I talked about this last show. They did a test in Florida. They went ahead and incorporated drug testing for welfare recipients. As you may remember, about 8% of the American population in general does illicit drugs of adult age or, adult age. 3%, it turned out, of welfare recipients were also doing illicit drugs. They spent more money in the drug testing than they saved by kicking those 3% out of the welfare program. And you want to pretend that you cared about the money? You didn't give a fuck about the money. What you're worried about is this false idea that your money is going to support somebody who doesn't care about anything but themselves and won't work for anything, and you think they're living the high life off of your tax dollar. You're full of shit. You need to look at the expenditures and where they're going to. Welfare people have caseworkers. Those caseworkers are motivated to get them off of welfare. If they can reduce costs, they get promoted. If they can find a fraudulent claimant, they get promoted. They save $40,000 over 5 years by kicking somebody off welfare, they fucking get promoted. So maybe you ought not be so hard on people that are living on $400 a month because they've fallen flat on their face and can't find work. Maybe you ought to get into their lives a little bit and try to understand how it is they're living, and get this fucking concept out of your head that they're eating off of your table, and get it out. Because there may come a day when you fall flat on your face, and when you need help, I hope to God that the people in support of welfare programs don't turn on you. I'm a little tired of that. We can regulate it, people. We can turn in the fraudulent ones. We can turn in the ones that are selling food stamps. They will go to prison. We will save money. People are motivated for that. There are fraud hotlines in every state. And we ought to be able to take care of our poor, huddled masses. We ought to be able to take care of our disabled, especially those disabled in the line of duty. And we ought to be able to take care of our elderly and our children that have been abandoned. If we can't do that, I don't know what the hell kind of nation it is you think you want to be a part of, but it's not one people are going to look up to. That is all. Well, Kevin, you sound like you want socialism. No, I don't. I love capitalism. I love the idea that the person that's motivated, that wants to excel and go out and be wealthy, they can do it. Not everything is divvied up. If you think taxes are high now, you need to look over history. Who are you listening to get these hateful thoughts? Is it just people that support your beliefs already? Or do you care about reality? I can't make you care about reality. That's not a task I'm going to take on. All I can tell you is the best way to think to figure out if somebody's fucking with you. The best way to think to figure out if someone's just trying to appeal to your emotion or if they actually have some evidence to support their claims. Then if they do, you can buy that claim. You can invest some of your belief into that, some of your faith into it. But put everything into your head with a question mark, or else you stop learning on a given topic when you close it. So never close any topic. That's all. You can have a working truth. There's nothing wrong with that. Be willing to say, I'm not positive, but. That's all you got to do. Just stay open-minded. Be willing to look at new evidence. Isn't that what a scientist does? You know, they say science is self-correcting. It is. It is, because there's always a new scientist that wants to disprove an old theory. It's part of the growth process. And if they can bring enough evidence to do it, they will. It is self-correcting. I love science for that. I don't see science as a religion. I'm not a slave to science. I think there are fields outside of science that we don't even understand yet. We haven't even incorporated them into the field of science. You know, and so to just confine yourself to what's inside science, and the hardcore skeptic to confine themselves inside of empirical data collection and controlled experiments, well, you're not living. You're in a very small little vial of certainty. Good for you. You can be certain in that little vial. I'm going to go walk around the rest of the world, and part of me is going to be uncertain. I find that free. Go ahead and stay in your lab with your white coat. That's cool. You're right, I can't prove ghosts exist. I sure can't. I don't even know what ghosts are. And I've seen things. I don't know what they are. So what? You think I'm just not going to talk about them? I know what I saw. What if it was a hallucination? Probably not. I had an eyewitness on 3 occasions that I saw something that I believe was at least paranormal, if not spiritual in any way. We don't know. I don't know if they were from another dimension or residual energy or, you know, who knows? Who knows? The intelligent person, as Socrates does, Socrakev might just become my new radio name. I want to hear what you think about it. Socrakev, yeah, because I do model my thinking after him. Not entirely. He's got a couple things that bother me. But the fact that his whole game is this: I'm not going to tell you what's right. I'm not going to tell you what to think. What I'm going to do is question you with reasonable questions, not, you know, intense questions that are meant to embarrass you, but with reasonable questions so that we can deconstruct your belief, and then I want to watch you reconstruct it and see if it all jives. Just want to see if the math works. And that's what he does. That's what he did. That's what was so beautiful. That's what I like to do. I question myself and I question you. And all I'm trying to do is, 1, make you think, and 2, and most importantly, make you insist on the best evidence possible for your views. We can't rule out emotion. It's part of our creature, folks. It's in there. If you were raised in a racist household, you've got to go unlearn that. That's up to you. If you think maybe it's healthy, maybe your race is the best race, well, I can't help you. Nobody can help you. You're there. You're stuck right there. You can't grow psychologically to acceptance and tolerance. And it's funny because there's a famous quote, and I don't remember what it is, and I don't feel like typing right now, so I'm not going to look it up, but it basically said that, I think it was Helen Keller that said the the best outcome of education is tolerance. And I agree with her 100%. You can almost tell educated people when you start talking to them by listening to what they'll tolerate. Because you know what happens when you get educated? You gain an appreciation for an understanding of different cultures and lifestyles. Until you've been exposed to that and realize that it's just as valid as yours, you won't accept it. You won't. So you're going to hate. That's really what it comes down to, tolerance. And we all have our limits, Should you hear about these? There are some really controversial stories you'll find on Fox News, and that's their job. They're going to stir up controversy. What they sell is hate. There's plenty of people that want that. They like the hate, so they're arming up. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that MSNBC paints the entire right side of the political spectrum as nut jobs, because they're not. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that people don't want more truth. What they want to hear is support for their beliefs, and I can't help you if that's what you want. I don't know what the point of this show was, but we're just about done. Hey, RD. Hey, RD, I'm just getting ready to finish the show, man. Thanks for dropping by. I do appreciate it. But we'll probably do another show later on today or tomorrow. I got a friend named Kyle who wants to come on, and I got to get some of his music, and we're going to play some of his music. He wants to talk about music. I'm not a music guy, but I'll just let him kind of, boss the mic and talk about music. So we'll do that sometime this week. We're trying to get Craig back on for more discussions on why he believes he can prove Jesus was real and was the Son of God, things of that nature. And from there, we'll just take it as it comes. So on the way out, I'm not going to play any music, but I am going to play you guys my new commercial, a quick one to tell you how to find me and where to find me. And I want to thank you for checking out Truth on Tap. Your host, Kevin Kierstead. And we'll talk to you next time. And since that is that, here goes this.
Ladies and gents, this is Kevin A. Kierstead, host of Truth on Tap. If you would like to follow the show, make sure to browse to and bookmark the Facebook page, which has a listening tab right on the page for you to listen to current and past episodes. It's www.facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. Don't forget the show. Talks is an easy way to remember. Facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. This show airs on Spreaker and iHeartRadio and is Spreaker's featured iHeartRadio show for the first week of July 2014. Contact me through the Facebook page or email me at whatsthedeal@yahoo.com. That's WUTZ@yahoo.com. If you have any suggestions for the show, or if you are interested in placing an ad on the show. I'm also searching for a part-time co-host. Must be intelligent, funny, sometimes unique, avoiding uhs, ums, and you knows, and having a nose for an appreciation of verifiable truth. I want to thank you for checking out Truth on Tap.